Hello everyone, and welcome to the Atelier Nekozuki podcast. This is episode 67. My name is Katie, and today is March 6th, 2019. And you can find me across social media as Atelier Nekozuki. Welcome back. I think I screwed up the date last week, so it hasn't actually been 2 weeks. It's only been 1 week, but I'm pretty sure I put my date for last week's episode a week earlier than it actually was. I don't know. Getting back into this podcast groove might take me a bit apparently. And this week is a little bit short on current works in progress. Right now I am working on that super secret project, which I don't want to say anything about right now. I could say something, but suspense. So we're in a different location than we normally are. I actually really like it. This tree that is attacking me is actually from Dallas and my wedding. And they haven't really had a spot recently, so I'm hoping that I can find a spot with them once this project is finished. But what that does mean is that I don't have a lot of work on current works in progress because A, super secret project, and B, tax season. Taxes are always anxiety inducing. I know what I have to do, but ugh. But what it does mean on the exciting side of that is that I have pulled all of my yarn out of their hidey holes. I think I actually have everything, which is kind of amazing. It's all in one spot now, but it also means that I've actually pulled out a bunch of UFOs or unfinished objects. So I'm going to go over those today as well, just so that there's a little bit more to talk to and it's not quite as boring for you or for me. Because you know, I'm a thrill seeker. I'm not going to show you what I am frogging. There are a couple projects I am going to frog, but realistically there's no point in showing you because they're like 2 to 2.5 years old, and it's just because I'm not feeling the project. There's not anything wrong with it, it's just that I want to repurpose the yarn for something else. So without further ado, let's actually talk about what I have worked on this week. So I did not finish my sock, or else we would have a whole or half finished object. Actually, if I finished my sock, I would have a faux because it's a matching mismatched pair and I would have both my socks. I do need to get these done soon though, because I do have plans for them and a reason why I want them finished, which is coming up. Sorry. So much crypticness the past couple weeks. Anyway, actually, if you were listening last week, you probably know what I want because it's going to be a mismatching couples pair. So they're going to go with this. So one will be my pair and one will be Dallas's pair. Super bright. This is the Regia Fleur Mania. I don't know the color anymore. It's just a color number. And I think it's discontinued anyway, so I'm sorry. I don't think you can get any more of it anymore. But I do really like it. I find that it is really hard wearing. I have a pair out of it already, and I had picked up this one specifically just for Dallas. And then the problem is that I run into is that he's got such big feet. So like I have absolutely no problem in getting a pair of socks out of a skein of yarn for me. But if you saw these last week, this is his sock. And this is my sock. And what I end up running into is I don't actually end up having enough yarn a lot of the time for two pairs of, or like a pair of socks for him out of one skein without adding a contrast. And like, yes, I could do that, but I don't always have time for that or the mental power. I just want to knit from one skein. So what I was like, okay, well with some of these ones where I don't think I'm going to get a full pair out of, what I'll do is I'll start making matching mismatched couples pairs because I have no problem, and if I were only to knit my sock and one of his socks out of it, I actually still do have leftover. If I had been smart, I would have actually grabbed the skein to show you, and I think the Fleur Mania I could have gotten a full pair for him out of, but I like this better. I think it's cute in a really dorky awesome way. So yeah, so this will be the mismatching couples set. So I'm almost done my sock. Then I've got his. I think I'm probably, let's see, match up those heels, match up those toes. Yeah, I'm like halfway up the cuff. No, I'm a third of the way up the cuff. So generally, these are just vanilla socks. They've got a short row heel. Dallas has never stated a preference for heels, so I just do short row, especially in this kind of yarn where it is, but it isn't patterning. I don't think it matters as much. What I end up doing though to determine length is I actually knit basically the same amount of cuff along with the ribbing as there is foot. Now this one's a little bit short. I think I was just done with these by the time that I got to the ribbing, so I was just like, no, screw it, I'm done. Yeah, so what I end up doing mostly is matching length of cuff to length of foot. I have big calves, just because there's fat, but there's also a bunch of muscle there. That's where I put a lot of my muscle on, especially with spinning and running. But I find that if I do, like, obviously these are Dallas's, but same idea. I find that if I do the same length as the foot, I end up not having it basically like be too tight on the calf, or just giving up on life and slumping around my ankles as soon as I put my socks on, which I'd have pairs like that. I'm sure some of you that are sock knitters also have pairs like that, but they just seem to give up on life as soon as you put them on. But I find that this is kind of a good formula for ease of use as well, because basically I can just fold the sock back on itself and I know how long my cuff is and how long it needs to be. So generally, like, ribbing is about 2 inches or whatever I think is probably appropriate. I think on both of these, like I said, I was just done, so I didn't do as much ribbing as normal. But yeah, I just fold it back on itself and then basically try and match the leg to the foot. So there's the finished half of them. There's the work in progress half of them. I will be trying to get these done. Yeah, I've got 2 more weeks and then I want them done. What I did work on instead, that I actually cranked out pretty fast, I'm over halfway through, is the Pompidou shawl, which I'm still loving. The Pompidou shawl is by Karen Fernandez, and I'm sorry, I did say Karina last week. I linked her properly in my show notes, but I am sorry for that. I checked it right. Actually, I've started this podcast about 5 times and gotten to this point. And so before I started this 5th time, I made sure to check on the what the designer name was or who the designer was, and it's Karen Fernandez for Tribe Yarns Life, which is a local yarn shop in London. And this is it, guys. So what I ended up doing, the cat here is where I was last week. So I did about over a third of the work, because what ends up happening is it grows as you knit it, because you're knitting it this direction. And of course I'm in the middle of the row, sorry. But yeah, I am past the halfway point, and look at this. I don't know why this makes me so happy, but I love the point here. Let me get my needles out of the way as possible. You see that? Yeah! Love the fact that there's this point. So I'm knitting this out of this solid yarn is a King Fiber Merino single, and then the more opaque ones are Hedgehog Mohair Silk Lace, and the King is underwater, which I totally gushed about last time because it reminds me of Moana and the underworld, water world, realm of monsters. And then the Hedgehog Fibers Mohair Silk is Budgie, so it's playing off really nice. They're not perfectly matched, but that's okay. I think they're working really well together. So yeah, so there's that. I'm gonna move the kitty cat. This Progress Keeper is actually available in my shop. I don't know if this print exactly is, but it's a little chubby calico, and look at the belly. The belly is the best part. Let's see if I can focus on it. Nope, refused. Anyway, chubby belly. These are all hand painted by a woman in Kyoto and hand sculpted as well. I don't want my face that big. And there's a little tiny face, and so she paints every single little face and all the details on every single one of these charms. Which to me is absolutely amazing. I actually got some of her work from when I was there as a student. There, just move my Progress Keeper. And it's kind of interesting to see her progress. So this was actually from when I was there in 2009, 2010. And I've loved her work ever since. So, yeah. And these guys, obviously, Calico. There's a Flynn, and there's a Remy, and there's not a Dahlia. But, yeah, stock is actually running low on the Progress Keepers, so I will be placing an order soon. It was kind of a pain to get them originally, but I will see if we can figure something out that's a little bit better. And if not, then I'll make sure that I have a wholesale order when I actually go back to Japan, which will not be for a while, unfortunately. That is the one thing, besides the super secret project that's been happening, is of course tax season. I hate tax season. I hate doing my taxes. It's not like they're hard. And it's not like I don't know what I can write off and all of this, but it's just, it's anxiety inducing, because it's like, well, what if I mess it up? And yeah, I know, don't write off anything I don't have receipts for and everything, but you know, it feels like you could screw it up really easy. Okay, so those are the current whips. Not a lot. And so I've got a whole basket full of those things, UFOs, that I should actually talk about. So, this ball's actually connected. One of the things I'm working on is actually a depth cal by Kalitha Comey. I will link all of the patterns and designers in my show notes. That's probably the easiest way to find all of these. I will try to tell you as much as I can remember, but I might screw it up because some of these projects are excuse me, 3 to 4 years old. There's a couple of them in there that are definitely 3 years old minimum. Anyway, this is not that old. I started this after TNNA. I can't remember when exactly, but it's the depth cowl. It's out of fiber seed yarn, and it's color pooling. So I'm keeping the pattern going up both sides. It's got 2 skeins. I'm about probably a third to, yeah, I'm definitely not halfway on this, but I'm probably a third of the way through the first skein. So it's going to be a very generous cowl, and it's going to be awesome, and it will be done for next winter probably. If winter ever ends in Cochrane is another thing. It's back down to like -20. We had like 2 days of gorgeous weather, and it got cold. It's supposed to be nice this weekend, I'm hoping, but it's March. Excuse me. So yeah, so that's being knit on US 7s, 4.5mm needles. It's the depth cowl. I think it's Talitha Comey, but I will link that in the show notes. It's not that I don't know how to pronounce the name, I just don't remember. There's obviously other people I should have looked up. And I'm using a Pearls and Coffee stitch marker that I actually got at Naughty by Nature in July last year in Victoria, and I'm really liking it. It's like really pretty roses. Alright, so that's one whip. UFO actually will count those as anything I figure over about 6 months. I think I showed this last week, but this is the Seraphim vest. I would count this also as a UFO, although I did do quite a bit of work on it over Christmas, but it's been over a month since I touched it. Actually 2 months. Yeah, it's March now, so I wouldn't have touched it until or after Christmas, because I worked on it through Christmas, and then ruined my shoulder again with the tendonitis. But yeah, so there's the work on it. There's a lot of body to work on this because of the length of it. It's basically a vest coat, so that's going to take a while. All right, this is another newer whip, although I haven't worked on it since summer either. I don't think I ever showed this on the podcast, and that's a failing on my part. But this is the I looked this up. Heliotrope? It's patterned by Emma Welford. It was in the unofficial Harry Potter knits originally. And it's a cable vest, and then there's going to be a drop stitch panel somewhere. I think it's this one. And it opens up. I am enjoying it. I just haven't worked on it. Don't ask me why. I've been busy. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But I'm knitting this out of Croft by West Yorkshire Spinners. Sorry, I'm looking at I've got like all my whip yarn in another bin so that I could just put one basket up on my table here. So yeah, but this is West Yorkshire Spinners Croft. And I don't know the color. I just know it's pretty and it's actually working up really well with the cables. It's got way more definition actually on the screen than it does in real life. And I think it'll be better once it's actually like finished. I remember enjoying knitting this. It's just that it's going to be a bit of a plod as well. But I picked up the yarn when I was in Victoria in July. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I do want to get it finished simply because like it'd be nice to have finished work or another finished like sweatery thing. And I even got the buttons for it already. They're kind of sparkly black. I am on my iPhone, so obviously it's not going to like focus very well. It's also very reflective. But rest assured, they are slightly black. They are coconut actually, which is kind of cool. At least that's what I remember them telling me. But I think it'll look really good with it. So because I actually bought the yarn and then I went and got buttons for it on the same trip. Because I seem to do that. I'll buy project yarn in Victoria and then I'll get buttons for it later. Like the sweater I was wearing, that's actually the Little Wave cardigan. I knit it out of shelter that I bought on our honeymoon. And then when we went back the next trip, I got buttons for it. So, you know, as one does. But this vest is actually in one of my large wedge bags, which is absolutely perfect for holding it. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. Let's see. Oh yeah, and so the socks were in a knot bag. And then the Pompidou was actually in one of my small box bags. Both very comfortable. More recent work in progress is a pair of Gauge Dye Work socks. This is her pink light colorway, I think. Being knit on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles and on through the feet. And this is actually the heel. I did a short row heel on them. I really like how it actually turned out. And so I'm over halfway. I just put them down because I think I got bored. So that's another whip I need to like pick up and finish because realistically there's not that much work left on it. And I love Gauge Dye Work yarns, so you know. The other part, one thing that I haven't finished that I need to, Hermione's Everyday Socks. This is also Regia Flormania, if you can't tell. And it's just this simple pattern. I think I got bored of knitting the sock because of the pattern. I did just the pattern on the top and then the leg. I also think it is a bit tight, so I'm gonna actually have to try these on. If they don't fit, this is getting frogged and I will either re-knit it or I will just knit another pair of socks out of it. Because obviously I definitely got bored. I can't remember if I did top down or toe up. Generally I do toe up socks. That is also a really long toe. Much more pointed than I normally do. Yeah, it's a really long toe. Yeah, by like an inch. So this might get ripped out anyway, but it's a UFO right now. And one that I would come back to and finish if it fits. Then just simple self-striping socks out of Crazy Dog Yarns. It feels like these socks are going to wear really well. But I do remember the yarn needs to soften up a bit, and it will as I wear them, so that's good. But I need to finish them. This would have been also knit on a US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. Looks like, yeah, basically I knit the whole thing and then I knit a whole stripe sequence in the cut rib. So I've got a bunch of like half finished socks Could fill my sock drawer if I actually sat down on and did some work. Leftover Thor yarn from Penguin Soup Knits for my niece's socks. I think I probably could get her another pair of small, like, shorty socks. I was going to knit her fingerless mitts, but since I knit these socks for her, she has gone full goth, and I don't think fingerless mitts in bright green, yellow, and even though it's got some black in it, will fly. So maybe I'll knit her a pair of, like, Rose City rollers would actually be a good option for this. So they're getting frogged, but I wanted to show you the yarn because I really liked Ginny's, like, striping sequences, and this was actually a custom dye for me as well, and it worked up really well. It's really soft, which is nice. And they're almost done being frogged. Look at that. It's sometimes so satisfying to see stuff get frogged. And so I'm just kind of, probably what I'll end up doing is going in and recaking it or reballing it just so that it's easier to work from. Or not. I'll probably just cast on from this. Whatever. It's yarn and it will sort itself out in the wash because I do wet block my socks. Generally the first time. When I'm just washing them from the actual, like, washing machine, I do machine wash all of my socks. I just do them on a quick cycle, like a rinse and spin cycle, because I have, like, I use Eucalyptus, and which is a wool wash, which technically doesn't need to be rinsed out, but the quickest cycle is like a rinse and spin, and so it seems to work. My socks come out decently clean enough at least. All right, good enough. So those just got frogged, so they're going to go in the other bin because I'll pick them up later. The other one that has to be frogged is I'm knitting a pair of Hufflepuff socks for my friend, and they're too damn small. So I knew her feet were small, but I think I didn't cast off on enough stitches. So I need to go up, I think I only need to go up like 4 stitches, but yeah, these are too small. They're the right length, but they're too small around. So there's those. This yarn is Stitch Please, who has stopped dyeing since I purchased this yarn. I previously knit a pair of socks for Cassidy, my niece, out of her yarn. Really like it, really wish she was still dyeing, but life's come up and so she's not dyeing right now. Maybe she'll come back later, but yeah. Actually, I should rip these and also get them done because there's stuff coming up that those would be good for. That's the oldest whip, so we'll do that one last. Yeah, so one of the last current UFOs, the Hitofude. Obviously this was cast on fairly recently, and yeah, this is what I've got done. I want this done for Disney in October. And that's out of Madeline Tosh. Yarn's right here. It's the only yarn I didn't take out. Tosh Merino Light, and it's in the Coquette colorway. I got this on, like, super good deal right before the dollar crashed in Canada. So, like, one of the last orders that one of the local yarn shops had before the dollar crashed. So I was like, I'm gonna get this now before exchange rates absolutely wreck being able to get that yarn. Now, this was before I was really working a lot with Ancient Arts yarns. I love Ancient Arts yarns, but, like, different color palettes too. So I'm spoilt now, but at that point it was like, it's a really nice yarn. I really like the color just because of the depth in the pinks as well. Final whip. This is the oldest UFO currently. Yeah, this is the oldest UFO. Sorry, I was just making sure in my mental catalog. It's an entrelac scarf out of Noro Silk Garden. I am halfway through the 3rd skein, I think. I count that as half. So I've got a skein and a half left, and I think I will actually do it, but it's been a slog. I should actually finish this up except for like a couple rows for Stash Dash this year. One of the older projects, because there's no point. Obviously it'll need to be blocked and everything once it's actually finished, but I even put it back on needles. That's part of what happened, is I pilfered the needles for another project, so I did put it back on needles. I am going to, for this last bit, teach myself how to knit backwards. I totally did not for the first bit, so I was constantly turning it, and I think that's one of the big deterrents, so I will learn how to knit backwards for the last bit. So actually, that's not too bad for UFOs. There's a couple others, but they're not ones I really want to talk about, and not something that I would consider a UFO right now. But like lots of socks to pick up. So I don't think I'm going to be casting on any socks in the next little bit. I think I'll just be working from those. Yeah, and I'll figure out if a couple things fit or not, or if I need to like rip it and then knit it. So, what else? For chatter, yeah, not much has happened. I'm right on the edge of getting sick, so I'm actually not doing much right now besides taxes and like super secret project, which most of my part is done except for like finishing details at this point. And more obviously will be revealed about that, so I'm not going to keep talking in cryptic side messages about it. What else has been happening? I did start training again for a 10K. There's a 10K in Cochrane in June, and I have exactly the right amount of time to be able to like do my training program right now. I am not a fast runner, but I've definitely improved since last year. The other nice thing is that I have figured out what my pace actually is, so I can run comfortably on a treadmill, which for me last year was major. I hated treadmill running. But now that I've actually figured out like what my speed is that is sustainable, it's a lot better. And the nice thing is that we actually have a treadmill downstairs. I can just use that there instead of like, I do still prefer running outside, but it's too damn cold to run outside right now, and too damn icy too. And that's the other problem, is that once we head into thaw, we go through freeze-thaw cycles so often in Cochrane, so it'll be nice and like thawing in the daytime, and then it'll freeze overnight. So I do have to wait a little bit longer to go running outside. Probably another, beginning of March? Probably can start running outside at the beginning of April. I do have the equipment to do it. It's just that this winter's been really brutal for actually getting out to run outside. So I'm really excited for that, but in the meantime, I'll just do treadmill, and that's fine. Now that I know my speed, I'm not pushing myself too far, because that was the problem before, is I was going too fast and too hard, and so I was not enjoying myself. But you know, and I've been catching up on podcasts that way, which is really nice, because I tried to do the run and then do my 10,000 steps as well to just kind of sustain my fitness level. Also got to do that Disney training for October, because we do not go easy on those trips, so I want to be able to actually keep up. Yeah, so I've been doing that. And then what else? Taxes. Anxiety inducing taxes. Not for any reason. It's just they're taxes and it's dealing with the government, and that's the big reason why. So the cats are all doing well. Flynn's growing still. His tail right now looks really stumpy, so I think he's actually gained body length, and his tail's got to catch up, because it was looking particularly just kind of short. Is weird. And what else have we done? Nothing else. So that's realistically all. I'm glad I was able to get the UFOs out for you guys to actually show you, so that this is a little bit longer podcast. Oh, what I've been reading. I finished the audiobook of Queen of Shadows, and I'm on to Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. And that's the Throne of Glass series. So I just started Empire of Storms, so I've got some listening left there, and then there's Tower of Dawn and Throne of Ash, the last book. So I'll be listening to those in the next few weeks. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to PM me or DM me. My most active spaces are definitely my Instagram and Facebook. Easiest way to get a hold of me is actually through Instagram. You can message me on Ravelry as well. And there will be a D-stash coming up. I've got lots of yarn that I don't need anymore, and just moving everything down, I'm kind of looking at it sideways going, I probably don't need that in my stash anymore. So watch out for that, and I will talk to you all next week. Thanks so much and have an awesome day. Happy crafting.